Your husband's funeral and my wedding ended up on the same day, but you were planning a modest service anyway, so it's fine, right? Our parents and relatives will all be at my ceremony, said my sister Lily with a smirk, deliberately setting her wedding date to overlap with Michael's funeral. 2 months later, we arrived at the day of these conflicting events. What in the world is this? Lily gasped, her eyes widening in shock as she stood in her pristine white gown. What happened to Michael's small funeral? Did you get curious because our wedding is such a failure? My name is Victoria, a 34-year-old nurse. I've been working in the intensive care unit for over 10 years since graduating from nursing school. My colleagues respect me for my dedication, and I've built a reputation for staying calm during the most critical emergencies when lives hang in the balance. I was married to Michael, an incredibly talented doctor specializing in rare diseases. We met during a particularly difficult night shift when a bus accident brought in multiple trauma patients. His steady hands and compassionate eyes caught my attention immediately. After 2 years of dating, he proposed to me on the hospital rooftop where we often took our breaks. I was overjoyed but found myself asking, "Are you sure you want to be with someone like me?" He took my face in his hands, his eyes reflecting the city lights, and said with absolute certainty, "It has to be you, Victoria. Only you." For 8 beautiful years, we built a life together. Then came the diagnosis, a progressive neurological condition. I watched helplessly as the brilliant doctor who had saved countless lives slowly lost control of his own body. For 2 years, I cared for him at home, taking leave from my nursing position. I administered his medications, monitored his vital signs, and held him through painful nights when sleep wouldn't come. When he passed away, his parents were devastated but incredibly supportive. "Victoria, Michael always said you were his anchor," his mother told me, her eyes red from crying but her voice steady. "You made his final days bearable with your care." "I just did what any nurse, any wife, would do," I replied, my throat tight with emotion. "There's no need to diminish your sacrifice," his father said gently. "We've seen how you've put your own life on hold these past 2 years." His parents were wonderful people, and even in our grief, there was comfort in our shared memories. However, something his father said caught me off guard. "I would like your family to be at the funeral service." Michael spoke of them often, though they never visited during his illness. "Yes, of course they should be there," I stammered, feeling a familiar knot in my stomach. Michael's father, noticing my discomfort, squeezed my hand and said, "Victoria, you don't have to force yourself, okay?" "Thank you, but I'll manage," I assured him, though my voice lacked conviction. My unease had a reason. My family had always treated me like an unwelcome guest in their lives. I have a younger sister named Lily who commands attention wherever she goes. Since she was a teenager, she's been building her social media following, and now at 28, she's a successful beauty and lifestyle influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers. Our parents have always been enchanted by her charisma and the glamorous life she portrays online. In contrast, my practical career choice and quiet demeanor disappointed them. My parents decided early on that investing in me was unnecessary, and I grew up with little emotional support. While Lily received expensive cameras and lighting equipment for her career, my requests for nursing textbooks were met with sighs about wasting money. My achievements in nursing school, graduating with honors and securing a position in a prestigious hospital's ICU, were dismissed as just a job. Meanwhile, Lily's follower milestones were celebrated with lavish parties. On my birthdays, my mother would somehow always manage to buy Lily a small gift too, inevitably more expensive than whatever I received. "Why can't you be more like Lily?" became the soundtrack of my childhood. Nobody wants to see posts about hospital work. While I was saving lives, Lily was saving face, carefully curating her online persona while being deliberately cruel to me behind the scenes. In high school, her cruelty peaked when she discovered I had feelings for a classmate. She immediately pursued him, broadcasting their relationship across her growing social platforms. She would casually expose my insecurities in her vlogs, thinly veiling them as sister talk. Because of her, strangers would approach me with intimate knowledge of my private struggles. Any attempt to confront Lily resulted in my parents punishing me for jealousy and trying to sabotage her career. So I learned to stay quiet, to make myself smaller, to expect nothing. Years of this treatment left me doubting my worth, despite my professional accomplishments. Despite everything, I desperately craved my parents' approval and channeled that longing into my studies. I threw myself into nursing coursework with an intensity that surprised even my instructors. Night after night, I'd study until my eyes burned, mastering complex medical terminology and procedures while my classmates struggled to keep up. My dedication paid off. I consistently earned top marks and excelled in clinical rotations. The defining moment came when I scored first in my nursing program, an achievement that surely would earn my parents' recognition. Heart racing with anticipation, I called home with the news, only to have my excitement crushed by my mother's cold response, "Don't stand out in such odd ways, Victoria." It would be humiliating for Lily if people thought her plain sister was somehow smarter than her. What would her followers think? The words struck like physical blows. Even as a grown woman pursuing a noble profession, I couldn't escape their dismissal. A profound realization washed over me: no achievement would ever be enough. Their rejection was immovable, a permanent wall I couldn't scale. My chest tightened with a familiar ache as I acknowledged this truth. Nevertheless, I couldn't suppress my passion for medicine and healing. I continued my studies but began deliberately holding back during exams, intentionally missing questions to remain comfortably in the middle range of my class. The strategy felt like a betrayal of myself, but it was a survival tactic in the emotional battlefield of my family dynamics. After graduating, I applied to the prestigious Mercy Regional Hospital's intensive care unit, known for its cutting-edge treatments and exceptional patient outcomes. To convince my parents to attend my nursing school graduation, I emphasized how my career choice would cost them nothing while providing stable income. Nursing is practical, I explained, sensing their indifference. The hospital even offers tuition reimbursement for my specialized certifications. Their lukewarm permission felt like a hollow victory. While my colleagues pursued additional degrees with their families' enthusiastic support, I funded my critical care certification entirely on my own. When I proudly announced receiving my specialized credentials, my father barely looked up from his phone. "As long as you're not asking us for money," he muttered, scrolling through Lily's latest social media posts. "Your sister might need financial backing for her new beauty product line." The head nurse who mentored me noticed my exceptional skills despite my efforts to blend in. When she asked why I wasn't applying for the advanced trauma specialization program, I explained my situation. Her eyes filled with compassion, the first time I'd seen such genuine concern for my circumstances. "The healthcare system can be harsh, but your family situation shouldn't limit your potential," she said, squeezing my hand. "I can't change your parents, but I can recommend you for the critical care team." Her simple act of recognition brought tears to my eyes. Thanks to her advocacy, I secured a position in the ICU, where I eventually met Michael. When I called home to share the news about my promotion, my mother's only response was, "Just make sure your schedule doesn't interfere with Lily's product launch party. And start sending more money home, your sister's influencer apartment is getting a renovation." That evening, I made a decision that changed my life. I would create boundaries with my family. I methodically saved every extra dollar while living in a tiny apartment with 3 roommates. I worked double shifts, volunteered for holiday coverage, and picked up overtime whenever possible. 18 months later, I had enough saved to move into my own place across town. The distance provided emotional breathing room I hadn't known was possible. When Michael entered my life, I initially kept him separate from my family, afraid their toxicity would poison something beautiful. This reluctance to combine our families lingered even as we planned our wedding, a hesitation Michael always respected with unwavering patience. "It's okay to have just a brief conversation with them. I don't want this to cause you additional pain, Victoria," Michael's father assured me, his eyes filled with the same compassion his son had always shown. I traced the rim of my coffee cup, gathering courage. "Thank you. I think I should visit them in person after all this time. They should hear about the funeral arrangements properly." My voice sounded stronger than I felt. 2 days later, I stood on the familiar porch of my childhood home, my heart hammering against my ribs. The door swung open to reveal my mother, her expression shifting from anticipation to disappointment when she realized it was me, not Lily. "Oh, it's you," she said flatly. "What brings you here after all this time?" Inside, I found my father scrolling through social media on his tablet while Lily lounged on the plush sectional sofa, meticulously arranging products for what appeared to be an unboxing video. No one acknowledged my entrance. "Michael passed away last week," I said, the words still raw in my throat. "The funeral is next month." My mother barely looked up from her magazine. So what? We barely knew him anyway." I swallowed hard, feeling that familiar ache spread through my chest. "His parents would like to meet you before the service. They've been asking about my family." "That's so inconvenient," my father grumbled. "We're extremely busy. Lily has 3 sponsored events that month. We don't need awkward meetings with strangers." I had anticipated this reaction. Taking a deep breath, I played my only card. "Dr. Anderson, Michael's father, is hosting a private gathering at the Monarch before the service. It's that new restaurant downtown with the 3-month waiting list. I thought you might want to join. Lily's head snapped up so quickly I thought she might strain her neck. The Monarch. That place is all over social media. No one can get reservations. She was already reaching for her phone. Do you know how many followers I could gain with exclusive content from there? My parents exchanged glances, their demeanor transforming instantly. Well, if Lily wants to go, I suppose we could make time, my mother conceded, suddenly interested. Of course, my father added. It would be the respectful thing to do. The morning of the family gathering arrived with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Dr. Anderson had reserved a private dining room with panoramic views of the city. When we arrived, Michael's parents greeted mine with genuine warmth and dignified condolences. My family's response was painfully superficial. My mother barely made eye contact during introductions, while my father's attention darted around the opulent space, mentally calculating its cost. Lily immediately began taking discreet photos of the decor for her social accounts. Michael's parents maintained their grace despite my family's obvious disinterest in anything beyond the setting. I watched in mortification as Lily interrupted Dr. Anderson's heartfelt story about Michael's medical outreach work to ask a server about the ingredients in a particular dish, claiming she needed the information for her followers. When the first course arrived, an artistic arrangement of seasonal delicacies, my sister actually squealed in delight, immediately positioning her phone to capture the perfect angle. My parents abandoned all pretense of conversation, commenting loudly on the presentation and exclusivity of each dish. The true low point came when Mrs. Anderson kindly attempted to engage with my parents about childhood memories. Victoria mentioned that Lily has quite a following online, she offered gently. You must be very proud of both your daughters. My parents' expressions brightened instantly. Lily is absolutely extraordinary. My mother gushed. She has brand partnerships with major cosmetic companies. She was practically destined for the spotlight from birth. Lily pretended modesty, but her smirk betrayed her pleasure. Mom, please, they don't want to hear about all that, she protested weakly, clearly hoping they would continue. But you should see her engagement metrics. She's in the top percentile for her demographic, my father continued, completely ignoring any mention of me or the purpose of our gathering. As soon as they determined they'd experienced everything worth posting about, my family abruptly announced their departure, citing vague commitments. My mother didn't even properly thank the Andersons for the meal. After they left, a heavy silence fell over the room. Michael's parents stared at me with expressions of disbelief mingled with profound sympathy. It's actually worse than I imagined, I admitted, my cheeks burning with shame. I should have prepared you better. Victoria, dear, please don't apologize, Mrs. Anderson said, coming to sit beside me. None of this reflects on you. Dr. Anderson nodded solemnly. If anything, seeing this gives me even greater respect for the remarkable person you've become despite such challenging circumstances. Michael always told us how extraordinary you are, Mrs. Anderson added, taking my hand in hers. Now we truly understand what he meant. From today forward, consider us your family in every way that matters. Their kindness broke something inside me, and tears I'd been holding back spilled down my cheeks. As we continued planning Michael's funeral, I worried about my family's potential disruption of the solemn occasion. After careful consideration, I suggested to the Andersons that we keep the service intimate and subdued. Perhaps just close friends and colleagues, I ventured cautiously. People who truly knew and valued Michael. Having witnessed my family's behavior, the Andersons readily agreed. This should be about honoring Michael, Dr. Anderson said firmly, not about creating a spectacle. What I didn't anticipate was how this decision would set in motion events that would change everything. Just as the funeral arrangements were being finalized, my phone lit up with an unexpected name, Lily. She had never called me before, so wariness crept through me as I answered. Hello? My voice was guarded, professional. I'm getting married, she announced without preamble, her voice bubbling with self-importance. My heart skipped a beat, surprised by this sudden news. Oh. Congratulations. I'm having an engagement dinner to introduce everyone to James. Be at Mom and Dad's house next Saturday at 7. Before I could respond, she hung up. I had scheduled a grief counseling session that day, something Dr. Anderson had gently suggested might help. When I mentioned the conflict to him, he insisted, family obligations shouldn't override your healing process, but we can reschedule if you prefer. Reluctantly, I decided to make a brief appearance before my session. The moment I met Lily's fiancé at my parents' home, a cold unease settled in my stomach. James Manning stood with practiced poise, his expensive watch deliberately visible as he extended his hand. So you're the nurse sister, he said, his smile not reaching his eyes. Lily wasn't exaggerating about the plain appearance. And no advanced degrees? How quaint. I maintained my professional composure, the same calm I summoned during hospital emergencies. James continued his assessment, clearly accustomed to people shrinking under his scrutiny. I'm the CEO of Manning Healthcare Systems, he informed me with calculated casualness. We operate 3 private hospitals in the region. People with your limited qualifications typically apply through HR, not family connections. His implication was clear, I existed beneath his notice. 10 years in intensive care had taught me which battles deserved my energy. This wasn't one of them. I should be going, I said, reaching for my purse. Wait, Lily called out sharply. We haven't told you the important part. Something in her tone made me pause. What else is there? Lily's lips curved into that familiar smile, the one she'd worn when telling childhood friends about my embarrassing moments. We've set the wedding date. June 12th. The date registered like a physical blow. That's the day of Michael's funeral. Is it? Her faint surprise couldn't hide her satisfaction. But since you mentioned it would be a small, private service, that shouldn't be a problem, right? You said just close family and friends. That's what I suggested, yes, but Mom, Dad, and all the relatives will be at my wedding, obviously. Her voice hardened. You'll have to manage your little memorial without any family present. My parents nodded in agreement, not even pretending to consider the implications of missing their son-in-law's funeral. Lily had deliberately chosen this date to minimize Michael's remembrance, to ensure her day outshone even death itself. I understand, I said quietly, a cold clarity washing over me. In that moment, I silently severed the last threads binding me to these people who shared my blood but nothing of my heart. When I told Dr. Anderson about this conversation, genuine anger flashed across his normally composed features. That's beyond callous, he said, his voice tight. Victoria, if they've chosen not to honor Michael, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. There are many people whose lives Michael touched who would want to pay their respects. I considered his words carefully. Even if we changed the date, they wouldn't come. Lily just wants to overshadow Michael's memory. The doctor nodded thoughtfully, then paused. You know, I've been thinking about something. Wasn't James Manning the one who approached the hospital board last year about that acquisition proposal? 2 months passed swiftly, and the day of Michael's funeral arrived. The memorial service was held at Lakeside Chapel, its soaring windows flooding the space with gentle morning light. To my astonishment, the chapel filled completely, colleagues from the hospital, patients whose lives Michael had saved, medical researchers he had collaborated with, and Dr. Anderson's extensive professional network. At the beginning of the service, the minister gently acknowledged the absence of my blood relatives, but the sea of supportive faces made their absence feel insignificant. The service was profoundly moving. Several doctors spoke about Michael's groundbreaking research, while former patients shared tear-inducing stories of his compassionate care. The hospital choir performed his favorite classical pieces, their voices rising to the chapel's vaulted ceiling. The atmosphere, though sorrowful, carried an unmistakable current of celebration for a remarkable life well lived. As the memorial service concluded and mourners moved to the reception hall for the gathering afterward, I noticed a commotion at the entrance. My parents stood there, looking bewildered, with Lily and a man I assumed was James beside them. Their formal attire seemed oddly out of place, Lily's elaborate white gown particularly inappropriate for a funeral setting. I approached them with measured steps, aware of curious glances following me. What in the world is this? Lily gasped, her professionally made-up eyes widening. Lily? What happened to your wedding? Did you get curious because our memorial service drew such an impressive crowd? I asked, my voice steady despite the surge of emotions. Her face flushed with indignation. What do you mean by this? Weren't you supposed to have a small, private service just for close family? This memorial venue was, in fact, the city's most prestigious location for significant events, with a 6-month waiting list that Dr. Anderson had somehow circumvented. Evidently, Lily had selected the same location for her wedding reception, likely to overshadow what she anticipated would be a sparsely attended funeral. Why are all these prominent people here? She demanded, gesturing toward the crowded reception hall. Medical colleagues, patients whose lives Michael saved, and the hospital board members are all here to honor his memory, I explained calmly. Hospital board members. James interjected, his complexion suddenly ashen. What? Are these the people who sent last-minute regrets to our wedding? Lily turned to him accusingly. James and Lily exchanged panicked glances before James stammered, "The entire hospital administrative staff cancelled our wedding yesterday. They said there was an important hospital function they couldn't miss." "Are you referring to Dr. Anderson's staff and colleagues?" I asked. "Dr. Anderson? The hospital board chairman." James's voice had risen an octave. "Yes, he's just over there," I indicated with a slight nod. As I pointed him out, Dr. Anderson approached us, his dignified presence commanding immediate respect. James's posture stiffened visibly. "Chairman Anderson? Why are you at this funeral? What father wouldn't attend his son's memorial service?" Dr. Anderson replied evenly, his composure unwavering. "Though I must say, I'm surprised to see some attendees who showed such little regard for my son during his illness," he added, his gaze shifting momentarily to my parents. I watched my parents' expressions transform from dismissal to mortification as they realized the connection. "James," Dr. Anderson continued, his tone measured but firm, "I find it curious that you scheduled your wedding to coincide with my son's funeral. What exactly was your reasoning?" "Sir, I had no idea this was your son's funeral," James protested desperately. "The date was entirely Lily's suggestion. She specifically wanted to upstage her sister's event." "How dare you blame this entirely on me?" Lily hissed. "You were the one who said it would be amusing to overshadow a mere nurse's sad little gathering for her dead husband." "Be quiet," James whispered frantically. "The chairman is right there." "You started pointing fingers first," Lily retorted, their argument escalating rapidly. Dr. Anderson's patience visibly ended. "Enough. This disgraceful display dishonors my son's memory. Please remove yourselves immediately." James practically bolted toward the exit, Lily stumbling after him in her inappropriate bridal attire. My parents approached hesitantly, their expressions suddenly solicitous. "Victoria, darling, we've always valued your practical nature. Since we're already here, perhaps we could join the reception?" I regarded them silently, noting how quickly their contempt had transformed to obsequiousness upon discovering my connection to the Anderson family. "It's too late for that," I said quietly. "I've made my decision to end our relationship. Please leave now." "How can you speak to us this way? We're your parents." My mother sputtered indignantly. "And you've chosen not to act like parents for decades. The security team will show you out." At a discreet signal from Dr. Anderson, 2 staff members appeared to escort my protesting parents from the premises. With the disruption removed, we returned to honoring Michael's memory properly, surrounded by people who genuinely cared. In the aftermath, James Manning's engagement to Lily collapsed spectacularly. His carefully orchestrated healthcare acquisition plans imploded when Dr. Anderson quietly expressed concerns to key board members about Manning's questionable character and judgment. 3 pending hospital purchase deals evaporated overnight, sending Manning Healthcare's stock into a concerning decline. James and Lily now battle viciously over the financial fallout, with James demanding reimbursement for what he calls his strategic investment in her influencer platform. My parents, thoroughly humiliated by their public exposure, redirected their fury toward Lily, their once adored daughter. They've effectively disowned her, outraged by the $75,000 they contributed to her lavish wedding. Money now seemingly vanished into non-refundable deposits and custom bridal attire. Lily's social media engagement has plummeted following several prominent medical professionals publicly unfollowing her and commenting on her shocking insensitivity. Truthfully, both my parents and Lily remain beyond redemption. However, having severed those toxic connections, their ongoing dramas no longer touch my life. 6 months after Michael's passing, I returned to the intensive care unit where we first met. Dr. Anderson established a memorial fellowship in Michael's name, funding specialized training for promising young doctors researching rare neurological conditions. I now divide my time between patient care and coordinating this program, finding profound purpose in continuing Michael's legacy of healing. The Andersons have become the loving family I never truly had before. We gather for Sunday dinners where we share memories of Michael, finding comfort in our mutual love for him. The pain of loss remains, but alongside it grows something beautiful, a sense of purpose and connection that honors what truly matters. Life continues forward, not as I once imagined, but with unexpected meaning and grace.